Well, hello, and happy Wednesday to you. It is time for the Unboring Wedding Show live, and thank you if you are able to join live. You are in the chat. Please log into YouTube, log into your Google, and then you will be able to comment along with all the other amazing people that you are seeing there. I see people sharing notes on how many weddings they got. Today is a bit of a pro session, I will admit. If you're a first timer, we always love having you along. Maybe you've never officiated a wedding yet. Maybe some of you, we think you've officiated dozens and dozens of weddings, but your first wedding is coming up. Looking at you, Jeff. Some of you are so embedded in this community that it's hard to believe you're not grizzled old veterans like the rest of us, who are showing it with the lines on our faces and things like that. But so good to see so many of you here. If you're watching this on a replay, remember, if you're watching the replay too early, you won't see the chat. I do get emails, Mark, the chat's not there. It's because some of you, missed the live by about an hour, and it takes YouTube 10 to 12 to 8-ish hours to upload the full chat, because that's where all the good stuff is happening. And today we're going to really use the chat in an interactive way as we talk about the results of the Wedding Reports survey. I just think it's really, really fascinating to see. Data like this teaches us things as wedding officiants, things we want to do, things we want to focus on, gives us a sense of community. It really makes us aware of the breadth of the wedding vendor industry. If you have been officiating for any number of years, you'll meet more and more and more vendors. But this is going somewhere. I'm not just going to show you a bunch of data. The last question of this survey is really salient. And then I want to show you an article of something that will help us, I believe, launch into 2025, no matter where you are in terms of you're happy with your business, you're not happy, you're liking where things are going, you're not liking it. There's always something to take away and learn, and I really want to leave you with that today. If you can stick around for the whole thing. If you can't, again, watch the replay. It'll be right here. Maybe you are watching the replay. And if you're watching this the day after, say the Thursday and beyond, you will be able to see the chat sync up with the video. It just takes YouTube a little bit of time. So glad to see you here. Please, as we've said before, say hello in the chat, introduce yourself, say where you're watching from. We have people from all over the world, and so it's always incredible. There are many members of Unboring Wedding Academy who are inside, who never miss a week. I absolutely love that, even though they have the full courses. In some cases, some of you have both courses, the Academy course, which is about the ceremony, the Pro course, which is about the business. You continue to show up for our Unboring Wedding Show every week, and I absolutely love that you can't get enough of the wedding industry, of performing great ceremonies and leveling up your business. And that's why I absolutely love doing this with you live. So we are going to start the survey soon, but I do want to pop in here and say hello. I did miss some early comments, but I see Jeff is here and Sabrina is here and Cantor Mark is here. And good to see you. So Jeffrey is in rainy Orange County, California. Anytime these days we're hearing that there's rain in California, I think we all take breathe a sigh of relief. So may it continue to rain within reason in California, just to dampen some of those fires that have been sprouting up. Bonnie is here and says, howdy, y'all. Howdy right back to you in the best way a Canadian can say it. Brian, speaking of Canadians, is here from Newmarket, Ontario, my old stomping grounds. I lived in Toronto. I lived in Richmond Hill. And then, more Yonge and Sheppard area. Bounced around Toronto quite a bit in my graduate studies years. But great to see you here, Brian. And Donald, this is crazy. Like, I see Newmarket, which is where I lived, pretty close to there. And then I see Donald saying hello from the Eastern Townships, which, of course, Naomi's family has a cottage there. I'll be there for a family wedding this year. So the Eastern Townships, it's quite a large area, but it is some of the most gorgeous country you can imagine. And so good to see you there, Donald, as well. Nashville on my bucket list. Haven't been there yet. It's not any kind of stomping ground for me, but hey, I'd love to visit. And it is a great day in Nashville, Tennessee. And the Isle of Wight. Yeah, I want to go there too. Basically, I want to go where you guys are all from. Come visit me in New Brunswick sometime. It's pretty beautiful here too. Vancouver, I do love Vancouver. My sister-in-law lives there. I've spent plenty of time in that city. It's absolutely incredible. And Paul, you are here. Good to see you from Colorado. You just purchased your website from us. Hopefully you're getting that going and customized and exactly how you want it. So thank you for that, Paul, and good to see you here. And Isabel is here from Aberdeenshire, Scotland. Am I saying that right? Aberdeenshire? Aberdeenshire. It's easier than Worcestershire, unless I'm saying that wrong too. Your heart goes out to all the Canadian and stateside friends for what's unfolding. Yes, we're going to avoid. I'm going to thank you for that sentiment. We're going to sidestep any of that today. If you want my feelings on that, go to my Facebook page where I share more of my personal thoughts. But thank you for that. Bob is here from Austin. Lisa from New Jersey. Good to see you. And Karen from Florida. Awesome stuff. Mark, always love seeing you here from Matlacha, Florida. I'm getting better at that, I think. Which, again, that's a little easier than Aberdeenshire, if I'm saying it right. But again, and both are easier than Worcestershire sauce, of course. Bill is here from Lake Tahoe. Absolutely beautiful. I really want to get there. I hear such amazing things. I don't know if you have to be super loaded to really enjoy Lake Tahoe or what, because I hear it's quite the playground of the rich and famous, but it sounds like an absolutely beautiful country. Tamara's here. Good to see you. And Unboring Wedding fam. Wow, I love that. Lots of Unboring Wedding fam here in the chat. Ava's here. Good to see you. And wonderful officiants. Is that an open invitation for Americans? Where's the invitation? Let me see. Did I? Oh, for coming to New Brunswick? Oh yeah, absolutely. And your exchange rate will be absolutely great right now as well. So come on in for that. Come say a visit. And Elaine wants to show me around Isle of Wight. That's awesome. Sabrina, so good to see you. Mark Allen Grollo, dude, you are our guy. We won't miss an opportunity to check in and say hi. Yeah, I guess that's why you keep coming in. I love that members are here. I also love when we have first timers coming in who are just kind of stumbling in, or maybe, I do get emails from people who say, I've been watching you on YouTube for months. I never purchased anything from you. You helped me crush my first ceremony. That's awesome stuff. I love that too. And sometimes people feel quite guilty about that. Mark, I didn't buy any of your program or anything like that. Hey, if I can help you, I'm so thrilled to do that. I'm basically providing for any and all levels of involvement. If somebody really wants to, again, pay their $297 to come inside Academy and get the love story caster and get the office hours and get the direct access to me and direct help and the Facebook group of over 700 members, you can go that way, or you can just keep watching videos and see what I put out there. And then, of course, some of you get all the courses, all the things, and you are launching very successful pro careers, pro vocations, and I absolutely love to see the Officiant community doing that as well. So that's a good segue now into the results of the wedding report. Now, a lot of you might be wondering, what is the wedding report? And I want to drop a link right here. It is in the video description, but I don't even remember how I found out about the wedding report, but they basically survey, and today we're going to go through the Q4 2024 results, just kind of the state of the wedding industry. And they surveyed, I don't know how many people the email goes out to, but it looks like about 100. You'll see, I'm going to show you screen flows of the report. About 184 wedding vendors replied either in whole or in part to the survey. It's quick and painless, 9 questions. And so I always do it. I always contribute. And you'll see, interestingly, the wedding officiant community is grossly underrepresented when it comes to the people who reply to the wedding report survey. So, and I know the Not Worldwide does one as well, but that's a lot of time that's couples, which is a great, like the Not one that goes out to couples. It's great data in terms of what are couples doing, what's the state of people getting married. But this one is the wedding business survey by Wedding Report there. So I'm going to encourage you to sign up, and then you will get your emails saying, hey, can you take a few minutes to fill this out? Like I say, I've done it. And then you, of course, get added to the results. And so today we're going to go through, as I said off the top, the 8. I keep saying 8 questions because the first one is basically just, what industry are you in? So I guess for me, I'm shortening it mentally. It is 9 questions. It took me no time to fill out. And then it took about a month. I just waited a month after I filled it out and then got an email saying, here's the results. And that's what I want to share with you today. So I'm not stealing this information in any way. It is out there. You can see if you click on that link, all the publications that get this information. But I want to encourage you to sign up because you can contribute to the voices, the vendors, and ultimately make this a richer, obviously, the bigger the sample size when it comes to surveys, the better the information is. And so I'm just encouraging you to do that as well. And so Carla's here from Italy. Good to see you. And thank you for standing with Canada. We have been incredible friends and allies since we all put down our muskets after the War of 1812. Is it time for North American history today? So yeah, we haven't fired any shots at each other for almost 200 years. So let's keep that up. Okay, 100 and 120, 110, 100 since the War of 1812. And that's all behind us. And then ever since then, we've been great friends. And let's keep it that way. You do hear me rave about going to Vegas, and I live on a border town. And so I just continue to want us to have a prosperous friendship together in a way that's best for everyone. So let's talk about, now I'm going to share this screen, the Wedding Business Survey Q4 2020 results. So as I said, 2024 results. If you fill this out, if you subscribe to this email or to the wedding report, you will get quarterly surveys, and we're not going to do quarter over quarter comparisons. I just really think that this is the Q4 survey is really good about, tell me about your 2024 and tell me about your 2025. So I do want you to follow along. So I'm going to ask for some participation today in real time. I know I don't always do that, but I will tell you to punch a number in or a word. I'm going to keep it really simple and see what you say in the chat in response to these questions. So I'll ask the question, show it in the survey. But before I reveal the results that came forward in the survey, I want to see what you say in the chat. And then, like I say, we're going to wrap up with question number 9, which I think is really potent. And then what can we do about how we feel with where we are? And we will wrap up by the top of the hour, whatever it is where you are. Start at noon Eastern, and so at 1 o'clock we will finish. I'm in the Atlantic time zone, so it is 1:15 p.m. right now, and so we will wrap up within 45 minutes. I'm not sure if this is going to go quickly or slowly, but you know me, I can talk about things even when I think I don't have anything to say. So let's look at this. The first question, and so I'm sharing the screen with you, and I know if you're watching this on the phone, it might be too small, so I will walk you through this. The first question, and this is fascinating, you should see who answers this survey, is which one of these best describes your business? So every question has this pie chart breakdown, but you will see the vast majority. So underneath, we've got the pie chart, and then we have the values here of value survey speak of who actually replied. The biggest represented group actually in this survey is photography and video. 21.8% of people who answered this survey were photographers and videographers. And then I'm scanning. Second place would be planners, coordinators, event design. No, second place would be, actually scratch all of this. The biggest piece of the pie there is event location and venue people, 26.4%. So the top major vendors represented in this survey that you're going to see of 148 people who completed this survey, 26 did it partially. So there was a total of 174 respondents to this survey. Looks like the biggest pieces of the pie, as I say here, are event and location venues. I'm going to read the pie chart instead of the list. The photographers and videographers, planners and coordinators came in third there. Entertainment was maybe number 4. You got DJs and the entertainment crew, then attire and accessories. And you're wondering, of course, where are the officiants? That's what we're here to talk about, is how this survey and these numbers today affect us and what we do. And I want to speak to that directly. Well, we were 4% of the respondents of this survey. And that's where you scan down. You can see how actually 7 officiants replied to this survey out of 174 total respondents. So that's why I said, and one of those was me. So me and 6 other people. And so feel free to sign up for the wedding report. I get nothing from this. This is not any sort of endorsement or collaboration. It's just something that I find this really interesting and really helpful for my business. And so I always want to share with you things that I find really helpful, because they'll likely help you as well. So now we've got who answered the question. 174 people, 4% of those were officiants. But hey, this is the community, this huge community of people. We've got how many categories here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, like 20 categories of wedding vendors. This is your team. These are your colleagues. These are the people that make a wedding day happen. Now, number 2, here we go. Is your business, I'm going to ask you this question now. Is your business financially better or worse off currently compared to 1 year ago? Now, if you're comfortable sharing, like I said, I'd love you to put the word better or worse, okay? Is your business financially? So this question just focuses on the money, which I do want to comment on after I get your results here. Is your business financially better off or worse off currently compared to 1 year ago? So when you think of February 2024, remember how young you were then? When you think about that and your finances, this is just really objective. It's not about how you feel. That stuff's coming up. Feelings, questions are coming up soon. Financially, is your officiating practice better or worse off currently compared to 1 year ago? Okay. All right. So let me see what you got here in the chat. We got worse, better, worse, better. Okay, better slightly. Okay, cool. Thank you very much for sharing. I appreciate that you feel safe enough, and thank you for your vulnerability and sharing. Some of you say better, some of you say worse. And so let's see the results of this survey. Survey says, and let's look at the pie. 31%, 31.8% said worse, and 36.5% said better. And I guess this is also an option, even though it wasn't an option in the question, same. 31.8% said same. So I wonder if some of you who didn't answer the question felt, well, I don't know, it's about the same. So that is an option. So look at that breakdown. It's pretty even, although better slightly edges out in terms of the number of people who replied. And I am seeing that in our chat as well. We got better, 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 worse, better, slightly. And if you feel the same, you can throw that in there as well. So that's really interesting stuff in terms of how just the money piece. Like when you think about how you feel now, no, it's not even how you feel. You look at your bookings, or you look at the money in the bank for your business. I don't know if some of you are running LLCs or corporations. I do get questions about that. Hey, Mark, can you tell me about incorporating or becoming a limited liability corporation? Canada is different than the US. We don't have LLCs. My accountant basically told me when it was time to become incorporated. And I'm thinking of having an upcoming live show. It's too big a question to tackle the real get into the real nitty gritty specifics, I could have somebody on as a guest. I suppose that would be cool, who has taken the jump to become an LLC, and maybe we could compare notes as a Canadian, as an American. But I really do think when it gets right down to it, you become an LLC or you become incorporated for similar reasons. There is the liability issue. Obviously, if your business is a corporation and gets sued or something like that, your house can't be taken. It's just that your business could go out of business. We don't like to talk about negative things, but that's the reality of, if you get to a certain size, you want your corporation to essentially be a person. You want your business to be that person, and that's where limited liability happens. And also for tax reasons. Those are really the two primary reasons for me becoming incorporated in Canada, was because if I was just in the personal tax bracket with all that revenue, I would be slammed. Corporations get a lower tax rate, and they are not as liable as an individual, or you are not exposed to the same amount of risk. So there's other factors there, but when you look at your money, you need to be starting to make those decisions around, are things growing? Are they not growing? When is it time to make those moves? Now, number two, thinking about the full year 2024. So think back now, last year, how booked were you for events, services, and product orders compared to a normal year? So officiants, looking at you, how many weddings did you have last year compared to a normal year? Now, I know some of you can't really answer that because you've only been at it for a couple of years. So you don't have a sense of what is normal. Now, I will tell you right now, for me, last year I did run for public office for the provincial legislature here. So my whole summer was running a political campaign, door knocking, just hours of exhaustion. And I had 12 weddings booked last year. But when I realized that this was coming up, when early last year, there was some stuff in the works where I could become a political candidate, and I knew what was ahead of me. The election was in October. I really throttled down on weddings. So I had 12 weddings last year, and even that was quite difficult because, a wedding on a Saturday when you should be out knocking on 100 doors, it really, made my political campaign suffer. However, this is my work. I love doing it. I had booked those things, most of those weddings, a year in advance. Obviously, I completely stopped taking bookings, and I stopped taking bookings for this year as well. So that is why I had 12 last year, and I'm still got lots of openings this year, although it's starting to fill up, because I didn't know if I won the election, would I still be officiating weddings? I knew I wanted to continue to do this and engage with this community. But as you know, officiating weddings takes a lot of time, working with the couples, the meetings, and actually officiating the wedding on a weekend. It's all very intense. And so that was the reason for that. So I want you to write, thinking of the full year, how booked were you for events, services, and products and orders? Now, the categories they give were more or less, moderately more, moderately less. So you can type that in the chat if you want to. Thinking about the full year, how booked were you for events? And again, it was a drop down kind of radio button. Did you feel like you were booked more than a normal year or less than a normal year? And then, of course, there's moderately more. Elaine, I believe, said slightly. Good. Slightly more, slightly less. Feel free to type that in the chat. How was it for you last year? For me, it was less, but that was by choice. That was by design. That was something that I chose to do. So, that's where you see these questions, and we're not sure of the reasoning behind it. I think it's very important for you, and I'll take a moment to say this here. Like I say, we're going to read these questions, then I'll expound a little bit. You want to be designing your life. You always want to be examining your life. You always want to be asking, am I doing what I want to be doing? Now, you might think, well, geez, that sounds like a luxury. I just need the money. But within the industry, or as a wedding officiant, you still want to be choosing the kinds of weddings, making smart choices. Ultimately, you want to get to the point where you are working with your ideal client, maybe at your ideal venue, on ideal times or at ideal times, right? So for me, when I started my officiating practice, and I think I've talked about this in Toronto, I would take as much as I could, anytime I could. I do multiple weddings in a day. One of my most traumatic business memories, and thankfully there's only about three, but one of them is when I was late for a wedding. I had a wedding in Niagara, and I had to get to downtown Toronto, uh, actually the Trump Hotel before he was president, right downtown. It's not there anymore, but I did the Niagara wedding was so late that I had to start calling, and I worked for Young, Hip, and Married at the time. And so I actually called Sean and was like, I can't believe this is happening. You need to call. I've learned a lot since then. I've learned about putting in the contract you can't be late. I've learned to put in the contract that I will leave if you are too late. Lots of things that I would do differently now, but this was back in 2015 when I was relatively a greenhorn, and I was late for the second wedding. The couple were furious. They were gracious but furious, and I totally agree with them. This is an example. I'm saying all that by way to say I was doing multiple weddings a day. That's when I decided I'm only doing one wedding on a Saturday. Now, part of that was having to leave the company that I worked for because that company took 50% of the booking fee. So I knew what couples were paying. They were paying $800. And this was back in 2015. That was very expensive for a wedding officiant. The company was taking 400 and I was taking 400. So that's partially why I felt like I wanted to do more weddings on a day so I could walk away with a decent amount of money in a weekend. Well, that's when I decided, what if I'm the one who just took the full 800? And that's where, I called Sean ultimately and said, I'm going to go my separate ways. Thank you. And then I could take the whole fee. And that's where I decided I am not going to take more than one wedding a day. Recently, I've made another change where, because of multiple things, like I say, whether it's a political campaign or the amount that this business is growing, where I have, over 1,500 members of Unboring Wedding Academy, plus coaching clients, plus the website stuff, plus all the great things, working on Efficiently and building that, our wedding ceremony management software and platform. I've decided to scale down and do 2 to 3 weddings a month, right? So could I be doing more? Sure. But I want to be doing less. And then another change I made last year, I decided I will not be driving all over New Brunswick and scaling up my fee, which I did. I said, if I drive an hour away, it's this much. If I drive 2 hours away, it's this much. I just decided no amount of money for me right now where I'm at is worth driving 2 hours away for a wedding. So I have restricted my area to a essentially 20-minute circle around where I live. St. Andrews has loads of weddings. There's barn venues. I get plenty of business. Sometimes it means I don't book as early. So if you like to have, 2 years of bookings out, which I don't recommend, it's a bit hairier when you restrict your geographical area. You might not get the bookings as fast. If your area is huge and wide and multiple cities, you'll book up earlier. But I do know that I'm going to get those last minute three months from now couples getting married, 15 minutes away at the Algonquin. I just have to wait for that booking to come, because a lot of the time I would book, a wedding way up in Fredericton, an hour and a half away. And then for the same date, I would get asked to officiate a wedding in St. Andrews, 15, 20 minutes away, like I said. Now, I did charge more for the travel, but I've decided it's still not worth it. I want to be home. My wife got a full-time job Monday to Friday. That's kind of new the last year. My kids go to school. I don't homeschool them anymore. So I was like, I just want to be home on the weekends, right? So I'm saying all that to help you think through that. How booked were you compared to a normal year? We're just going to put a number out there. We're going to say more or less, but maybe the answer is less because I want to be. Right? A lot of the time our default position is less. Oh my gosh, what's going on? We don't actually know from this data if people are booked less because they want to be booked less. I wrote less. When I answered this, less because I chose to, right? So just remember that this data, we're not seeing any stories behind it. And that's why I wanted to actually share with you, how do you think through these things? So let's take a look here. When you look at the pie wheel, you've got much less than normal is this amount of the pie, 23%. Moderately less, you've got 18%. and slightly less. So half of the pie is less. Okay. And again, we might think, oh my gosh, the industry is going down, something's wrong. I'm one of the people who said less, but it's because of things I had going on in my life. Where the other half of the pie were the same or more. So maybe that balances each other. Maybe they balance each other out a little bit. Okay. So I just wanted to give you a sense. Half said less, half said the same or more. I wonder what you have in here. More. Eva said less by choice. There you go. Karen says more. Jeff says, would 30 to 40 bookings be good a year? I mean, that would be great for money. Again, I know somebody who has a wedding chapel and just like cranks through the weddings, like multiple, they'll say hundreds of weddings a year. If that's how you want to make money and spend time, then that's how you're going to do it. And then it is right for you. For me, like I say, because I only want to do one a weekend, and I don't want it to be every weekend. Just personally, I love spending time with my family. We travel in the summer to Prince Edward Island or that kind of thing. We three a month is great for me because I actually do every time I officiate. I remember how much I absolutely love it. So I want to keep doing it. Lots of great replies. Thank you for that. We see Mark says 2 new, but I did 3 weddings last year. You're first and already 10 booked for this year. Thrilled with the way things are going. I'm thrilled for you too, Mark. I know you have an amazing website. You put a lot of money into this professionally. You and your wife, you went to Wedding MBA. I know that you learned from Bethel Nathan as well. Like it's just, you are really intentional about learning and implementing things, being the very best you can be. And this is the result. So I absolutely love that. Mark says Q3, same to question 3. I love that you put the question in there so I knew where we were here. That's great. Elaine, moderately more. Ava, less by choice, I believe, which is cool because you said less, but then you said less by choice. So hopefully me giving my whole tortured story about choosing around this inspired you to say, yeah, that's right, by choice. So that's cool. Now, Karen says, you've been turning down requests for more than an hour drive, quality over quantity. Absolutely love that. Now, if you're new again, and I've said this, you want to get those first few weddings any way you can. So I do, I say, even like unprofessionally, and what I mean by that is, tell your dental hygienist, tell everybody you can, if you're trying to break in, that you're a wedding officiant, you've taken training. Honestly, that's why something like Unboring Wedding Academy is so helpful, because it's legitimate in the sense that you can say you are trained. It's very important to say to somebody, I've been trained. You can't just say, I'm an electrician. Really? Where'd you go to college? Well, I didn't. I dismantled a wall socket this weekend, and now I call myself an electrician. I've done that, and I have the shocks to prove it, but I'm not an electrician. It's really helpful when you can say, oh, I was trained in X program, and I've apprenticed with so-and-so, and now I'm working towards being an electrician, or, I'm independent, or I'm working with somebody. But when you're trained, you can legitimately say that. And so that is really excellent, Karen. Quality over quantity, absolutely. And so get those weddings at first, however you can, and then get those reviews and get those photos, right? I've talked about this many times, but that is the secret. You get the photos, you get the reviews, and sometimes that might be the only condition, really. I mean, you can't be guaranteed you'll get photos. That's up to the photographer, but you might want to hire your own photographer for the day and ask your couple. And because pictures of you officiating are so crucial. And then a review of a real couple on Google My Business, any third-party site, really. I use Nice Job, as some of you have seen. Trustpilot's very expensive, but a third-party website, there's nothing like that, where a couple can leave a review and then people can know it's verified and it's not just you making stuff up about yourself. That's how you get in. And so get those first weddings, take any job at first, but then as you scale up, you want to make smart choices around how to lock in your bookings, take weddings you want. Ultimately, like I say, you want the kind of client you want, the price point you want to do it when you want to do it where you want. You've hit the officiating dream when you get there. Okay. And so that's kind of like the ultimate goal, but you might, just like any job, there might be gigs, parts of it that you don't absolutely love. Did I absolutely love elopements? Well, no, I don't do them anymore. But at the beginning, you're dang right. I took those elopements Monday to Friday, learned that the hard way, not the weekend. And I did it, and I got those reviews, and I got those photos, and I built my business that way in Toronto. Okay, Jeff says I'm aiming for 30 to 40 a year, and that is awesome. That's more than I do by choice, but I think very sustainably 3 to 4 weddings per month. So that's where you are, right? Do you want to be busy every single weekend? No, you'll probably travel, but around Christmas weddings are a huge thing. So there doesn't necessarily really need to be a downtime. I would say in February in Canada, nobody gets married. So there are some times that will decrease, but that's what we're talking about. Monkey Pirate, love it, says quality over quantity is so real. I do this not because it's easy money, but because it's fun money. And ultimately, like I said, I do love officiating because it's fun money. Every time I do it, even like last year when I was running a political campaign and on a Saturday, I should have been door knocking and our team wasn't. Oh, our candidate is busy today, he's working. But I would do it. And even though I would feel like I should have been out there doing stuff for my campaign, at the end of a wedding, I was just like, I loved doing that. I'd come home and, my family can see it. So it is an amazing job. Okay, so people are loving your answer there, Monkey Pirate. So good to see you. And Mark, too, says same by choice. Semi-retired, only book 18 weddings a year by design. Oh, wow. Chai equals life, 18. Amazing. You've got a whole philosophy around it. That's great stuff. Let's get to the next question now, which is how would you compare your tentative bookings for event services products, in our case, officiants, wedding officiating? How would you compare your tentative bookings for 2025 so far relative to a normal year at this point in the timeline? So remember 2024, we just said, how would you compare 2024 to a normal year? Well, now we're projecting forward. You're looking at your bookings objective. How would you compare your tentative bookings? I think tentative means, they're locked in. You haven't done the full work yet. If you're a professional, you've taken your retainer, right? Your 50% retainer. We can do a whole episode on that. But you want to get the couple locked in with that 50% retainer. They're not locked in until they do that. But how are you feeling about 2025? So the options here are much less than normal, moderately less, much more, moderately more, or about the same. Let's just say that. Kind of, if you're comfortable, pop in how 2025, your number of bookings this year. So, I say, Jeff, because you've just put it right out there, 30 to 40. If you want to get the 30 or 40 in 2025, are you hoping to hit like 20? Is that a 2026 goal? I'm not asking specifics around your numbers, but I'm saying you would say, okay, I've got this many couples locked in. I got 10 locked in. How am I feeling in terms of the goal, where I want to get to eventually? How would you compare? So this isn't about feelings. Feeling questions are coming up. We're on question number 4 here. How would you compare your tentative bookings for events? And then I'll show you the results. No results. Okay, so Sabrina says much more. Thank you for sharing. You got much more. For me, like I say, it's a strange animal because typically I would be fully booked with all the weddings I want by 2025 for 2025 by February for sure. But because I didn't know if I'd win the election, it was a third party that I was running for, so it was a very long shot. But I didn't run counting on losing. And so I didn't book any weddings because I thought, my goodness, if I am a member of provincial parliament, that is an intense job. How many weddings do I want to do next year? 1 a month? I just didn't want to lock myself into any commitments like that. So right now, like I say, how would I compare my bookings? Much less by choice or by design. And now it's interesting how it says product demand, whereas I am getting the normal amount of reviews, requests, and especially by vendors. I've had some planners reach out to me and say, how's your 2025 looking? And I'm happy to tell them quite incredibly, I've still got lots of availability. They're not used to that. And so that's the kind of engagement you want to think about when you answer this question. So thank you for those of you who are participating. Slightly more. Ava says she's booked 8 so far, which is sooner and better than last year. That's cool. Good to hear. Okay, let me share the results with you. Let's look at the pie here. So we got about 22% said much less. We've got 19% saying moderately less, and 10% saying about 10, up to a 10%, slightly less. Okay, so half of the pie again says less, and half say more or about the same. Okay, so it's similar to here where we had kind of the bad news bears, not necessarily, because again, if it's by design, but half the pie was less, the other half was more. Here, half the pie is about less, the other half is more. Okay, let's go into the next. Number 5. Recently, by what estimated percentage have you seen couples cutting their wedding guest counts? This is interesting. So this is about vendors when you go to weddings. By what percentage have you seen couples cutting their guest counts? Okay, so maybe you want to type that in the chat. Are 50% of couples cutting their guest counts? That means when you look at a wedding, do they seem to be getting smaller? Are 0% cutting their guest counts? That means you don't see a change or you see even more guests. Are 100% of the weddings you attend smaller? So that's how it works. 0% would mean weddings aren't getting smaller. Maybe they're getting bigger. But 100% would mean pretty much every wedding you go to, it's a smaller crowd. Oh, interesting. What's going on there? Okay. 50% would mean half of my couples are cutting. So the operative phrase here is, by what estimated percentage are the couples cutting their guest counts? Are you seeing weddings getting smaller? Can you share that with me? I would say, man, it's hard to say, but because weddings in New Brunswick are typically quite small, and we just had a massive venue in St. John shut down. It was a humongous church, and so, like I say, and then I shrunk down. But I shrunk my travel area down, and then we had a barn venue. The barn venue that I was trying to purchase with Naomi, again, didn't go through because it wasn't a viable business model. But that barn had huge weddings, and then they went out of business, and somebody bought it and they're back. And so it's hard for me to say, but I would say maybe 20% of weddings felt smaller, but this is a hard one to know. I wonder if you're going to have an easier time answering this. 50%. Oh, okay. So you're only Eva answered here. 40. So you're saying 40%. Hey, Catherine Maranatha, you're on the road driving to a client. That's cool. So Ava says about 40% of her couples are shrinking their weddings in her estimation. Let me share with you what the survey says. The biggest share of the pie is about 35% of couples are decreasing their weddings. But then we're seeing, not sure. We're seeing no noticeable decrease, 20%. We're seeing 75% or more decrease, 50 to 75% decrease. So we are seeing decrease, but this part of the pie, 11% plus not sure, 15% plus 18%. So again, it's about half that would say, I'm not really seeing a decrease. Okay, so that puts it around 50%. Now, I will just comment for wedding officiants, a bit of a smaller, if couples are cutting their guest size, and this is where I say, and I've always said it, it's a hot potato, maybe controversial. I wouldn't charge less. I don't recommend charging less. I don't recommend charging on guest sizes. Now, I've said that from hey, it's the same amount of work perspective, personally. I'm going to work the exact same for a wedding of 12 people or 120 people. And I don't want to, I don't like charging differently, because you're going to get the same the same work, the same process, the same quality product, the ceremony, the same level of energy from me. So I just charge one price, whether it's an elopement or whether it's a huge luxe wedding. Now, I think you might want to think about that if weddings are shrinking, if couples are shrinking their guest list, you are going to start getting into the weeds of how many guests. And I said I've told you this on the Facebook group, Wedding Officiants of America, great group. You should join if you're not. But you do see a lot of agonizing there around, I charged a couple my fee for 10 guests. Well, they show up with 16, and suddenly I'm mad because they have broken that trust and they only paid for 10. And it just leads to so much unnecessary drama, in my opinion. You just charge them what you would charge any couple, and then it doesn't matter if 6 people show up or 600 people show up. That's what I would say. So again, and think of this in terms of if we're seeing weddings getting smaller, and the wedding report, but also the not report, there's lots of reports saying couples are cutting their guest list. I would say this is fine for wedding officiants. I love a small, I mean, I love a big crowd, but I also love what it's like, 35 people in a small speakeasy venue, with cocktails in their hands. There is a special magic to that. And in fact, I would take that any day over a giant cavernous repurposed cathedral. Those tight little venues are so much more electric. That's my personal preference. And so you might want to think about that. If that's happening, I would say that's good news. You don't need to freak out about that as a wedding officiant. What you do want to do with your marketing and your communication is speak to that. Speak to how you provide an electric environment, an incredible experience for guests, no matter what the room size, because you're going to tell the couple's love story. You're going to engage the guests, right? So that's the way that you want to talk about what you do on social media, with your photos, with videos, with anything you put out there. And that's why I have photos of me doing small rooms, like that picture I referred to last week, the surprise wedding, right? This was a very small wedding. This was a small wedding right here. I have pictures on my website showing that I'm doing small weddings, I'm doing big weddings. And if you think trends are going to small, then just show that and talk to that, okay? That guests are going to really love that, and your couples should consider you for that, okay? So Jeff says 13% cutting their list. That's interesting. Mark is still seeing big weddings, so that's cool. Sabrina says, you're not really sure. You just did a wedding for 350 and then a wedding with 100, right? And so, Sabrina, I think you're proving my point of how versatile we are when we do what we do, and when we stick to what we do well. It's not really going to matter that much. Okay, thank you for participating in that. Rolling right on to question number 6. We got just 3 more. Recently, here's a question. By what estimated percentage have you seen couples cutting their budgets? Now, as officiants, I don't think we have access to this information as much as a planner would, or a videographer. Videographers kind of... photographers, they'll have a $10,000 package, they'll have a $6,000 package, they'll have a $2,000 package. So maybe they would be able to assess. Now, I do wonder, those of you who offer multiple packages, are you seeing people going for the more El Cheapo package, or are you seeing couples continue to put forward the money for your luxe service? Again, I only charge one price. It's $9.99. I don't care about your guest list. You're going to go through the same process that I teach in Unboring Wedding Academy. You're going to get all of me. You're going to get my weekend. You're going to get the rehearsal. You're going to get my flexibility. This is a huge benefit, to being able to change your time if you need to, that kind of thing. I can be flexible. But are you seeing, what percentage are you seeing couples cutting their budget? So as Mark did earlier, if you write 0%, then you're saying couples don't seem to be cutting their budgets at all. If you say 100%, then you would say, I think all my couples are cutting their budget. So throw down a percentage there if you have a sense. I know we officiants don't really know this, but I think maybe when you talk to your couples, when I have a chem check, and then when they book me, and then I have that wedding planning workshop with them to plan their ceremony, we'll talk. How's your wedding going? And maybe you get a sense that couples are cutting budgets because they're saying, we're doing all our decor ourselves. We're not hiring a planner. Are you seeing a lot more Bristol board and construction paper decor at weddings? Are you seeing more DIY stuff? Are you seeing the vendors shrink down more than before? Again, this is if you have a lot of experience in the industry. I think you'll find the answers here fascinating coming up, and I'm wondering if some of you are sharing Do you see couples cutting their budgets? 0% is no, I don't see that at all. 100% is yeah, I do see couples cutting their budgets. What are you thinking? Anything in the chat? Officiant of Love says, I don't know what I did, but I've been getting a lot of elopements. Hey, maybe word is spreading. That's great. And again, I've said this before. I had a colleague here in the town I live in who loved appointments. She moved back to BC, but she loved elopements. And so I gave her all my elopement couples. When I'd get an inquiry, I'd say, look, I don't do that. I don't, it's just not what I do. I didn't say I don't like that. But you want to talk to Deanna. And then they would love her. And then vice versa. She would say, oh, Saturday, big wedding. I don't really love that. She would send me those. So if you can find someone who you're really happy trading preferences with, then you can do that. Okay, so we're seeing DJ versus live band, money difference, flowers, weddings seem to be a multi-day events. Interesting. Sabrina said you've had one bride ask for a discount. It was Saturday that had several people wanting, so the answer was no. Yeah, I don't think you should feel bad, and I don't think you should negotiate. I think you did the right thing, Sabrina. Just, again, you provide a service, whether you're wanting or not. I just would never provide a discount. It's just, to me, not like a professional service. You can do that. But Mark says 75% maybe. People seem to be paring back and doing a lot of DIY decorations. This is exactly what I was saying. So when you're seeing that, what are you seeing? Mark says he seems to think a lot of couples are doing this. Let me share with you the results here. So we've got 10% say less than 10% decrease. So that's a really small amount. But the biggest say like 30% said a 10 to 25% decrease. So in their estimation, like 30% of the respondents said 10 to 25% of their couples are actually cutting. Now over here we had the not sure. 20% of people said not sure, which again makes me think you're not seeing drastic changes. And then no noticeable decrease was 23%. So really, when you get like kind of this 50-50 of, hey, I'm not really seeing anything, or I don't think they are at all, versus, yeah, I'm seeing something. So maybe about half in terms of couples cutting their budgets, which again, this is where I would say, as a wedding officiant, you're providing a great experience for the guests. And I don't believe that you should or need to continue to cut your prices to accommodate that. Years and years ago, I heard somebody say, don't cut the price of what you offer. Just make it such that people can't turn you down. They feel like there's so much value, you bring so much to the table that it's not really about the price. It's about the experience you provide or the service you provide. Now, whether that's a course creator, like, I offer an Unboring Wedding Academy, or whether that's your officiating service, I just think it's true across the board. Some people will just pay because they want you. You're going to find your client, and because they see what you do and they appreciate and value what you do. I'm conscious of time here, so let's get to the looking ahead 1 year from now. Do you think your business will be better off financially, worse off, or about the same? Looking ahead. So this is kind of the optimism piece. Can you type in the chat if you care to, a year from now, do you think you'll be better off, worse off, or the same? Now, this is fascinating because this survey was done at the end of 2024. A lot has happened in 2 months in terms of what we think is going to happen in 2025. A year from now, so February 2026, do you think your officiating business is going to be better off, worse off, or the same in terms of the finances? A lot of you look back in 2024 and you said, okay, I'm better or worse now. But what about a year from now? What are you thinking? Anybody want to answer that? You think you'll be better off, better off, better off? Okay, I'm going to show you the results because that optimism is reflected here. This huge half of the pie said better off. Okay, better off. 23.6% said same. So 3/4 of the pie say better or same. So there is a lot of optimism. Or was at the end of 2024. Hopefully that continues to be the case for you. I think in Canada, in New Brunswick, similar. I think I will be better off in terms of my wedding business. In terms of continuing to serve Americans and that kind of thing, maybe it's a bit more complicated. But if we're talking about my wedding officiating business of Canadian couples in New Brunswick, I share that level of optimism. Yeah. Okay, now last question, and then I want to just leave you with something. What would you say is the biggest challenge your business is facing right now? What is the biggest challenge your business is facing right now? Do you care to answer that in the chat? If you would like to, just throw in the chat. What's the biggest challenge your business is facing right now as a wedding officiant? Oh, I love this. You think you're going to be better off because of MBA and the new platform that Mark's created? Thank you. Efficiently will come out widely to all new members of Unboring Wedding Academy. Later this year, as I continue to work on the training and wrap the training around Efficiently. Efficiently is really the centerpiece of the new method as we completely replace Google Docs, Google Forms, Google Sheets, which have been amazing. But I'm glad for your optimism. And yes, I am trying to make it as easy as possible, for sure, to officiate weddings in terms of taking out all that time. And I think it will allow us to officiate more weddings for sure. Good. Well, if you care to, let's look at the answers. I'm not seeing getting leads. Bonnie says getting leads. Look at this. Getting leads is the number one here. And then converting leads into sales. So half of this pie says getting leads and converting leads into sales. And with just a few minutes we have left, I want to share with you, because like I said, we're going somewhere with this at the end. If half of us wedding vendors say getting leads and converting leads into sales is a challenge, you know what I say. If you've taken Unboring Wedding Pro, I give you the playbook for exactly how to position yourself in the market. It's not a sales pitch for that course, but it is multiple hours. So obviously I can't cover this in a few minutes. But in a nutshell, I came across an article recently in the Harvard Business Review that I do want to share with you. And it absolutely corroborates what I say in Unboring Wedding Pro, teaching you how to present yourself and position yourself and get leads and then convert those leads. And look at what it says. Okay, I'm sharing my screen with you. It says, learn to love networking. Now, this is based on a study by the Harvard Business Review of 165 lawyers. Okay, but here's ultimate, and I say this in pro, so it applies to lawyers, it applies to wedding officiants. I hate networking, this article begins. We hear this all the time from executives, other professionals, MBA students. They tell us networking makes them feel uncomfortable, phony, dirty. And their study here is asking, do you need to feel that way? But then here's really what I want to leave you with. In today's world, networking is a necessity. A mountain of research shows that professional networks lead to more job and business opportunities, broader and deeper knowledge, improved capacity to innovate, faster advancement, greater status and authority. Building and nurturing professional relationships also improves the quality of work and increases job satisfaction. We studied 165 lawyers at a North American law firm. We found that their success depended on their ability to network effectively, both internally to get themselves assigned to choice clients and externally to bring business into the firm. Those who regarded these activities as distasteful and avoided them had fewer billable hours than their peers. Now, that's in a nutshell what I talk about in pro. I talk about all the strategies, but essentially you want to get to wedding shows. You want to be calling wedding vendors, all the vendors that we just shared in the survey here, all your colleagues that answered this. Get in touch with local photographers, videographers, caterers, DJs. Go have coffee. Go to their venues. Introduce yourself. The proof is right here. The Harvard Business Review, no matter what industry you're in, your business is going to flourish based on your networking. And then I'll leave you with this. Have I said that multiple times? But really, I'm not going to scroll farther than this, because the number one thing that they recommend here, if you've heard me talk about this before, I was just really happy to see this, because I'm like, this is what I've been saying. This is in my pro course, and this just came out. How do you do it? Remember it said networking can make you feel sleazy and slimy if you think you're doing it for personal gain or with a vested interest? Well, they're saying here, there's one way to combat that. If you have to network and you feel kind of gross and sleazy, like you're using people, change your thinking and change your heart around it. And here they say, focus on learning. Do you see that? And that is what I say in pro, and I've said it here. When you network, when you go to wedding shows, when you have coffee with those vendors, when you reach out to them, take the posture of learning. Say, I'm interested in you. I want to know about you. When you make that switch and say, I want to learn about the wedding industry in my area as much as I can, the big resorts, the barn venues, the speakeasy, the restaurants, anywhere that you know couples are booking weddings. And when you get a wedding booked at a place, you should reach out to that place and talk to the venue coordinator, ask if you can pop by. If your couple, if you find out who their planner is, ask that planner out to coffee because you have a client in common, but then you just want to learn as much as you can from that person. A lot of us make a pilgrimage to Wedding MBA every year. Take your shot, Mike, if you're here. And we want to learn from other officiants, but there's so much to learn from other people in our venue, especially locally, okay? So all that to say, if getting leads and converting leads, clients into leads is your biggest challenge, remember networking is absolutely crucial to you getting clients, getting those pipelines firing. And in pro, I do talk about the 3 pipelines that you need firing, and vendor referrals is the hottest lead. I consider that the hottest lead because when a planner recommends you to their client, the client, the couple, is going to take that as a huge endorsement, as opposed to even just a friend or another couple or finding you cold online. Okay. So, friends, it sounds like we're optimistic. It sounds like you are where you want to be. Hopefully, a couple of takeaways today are try to position yourself to where you want to get to. And I think ultimately you want to take the number of weddings that you're comfortable with at the price point you want, in the location that you want, at the time you want, with the client you want. That's when you know that's kind of the promised land. Now, until you get to that point, you might have to take more weddings at different times that you don't like and not your ideal number of weddings, maybe not the perfect client, maybe a lower price than you want, but keep working towards something. And that's where I love how Jeff says, here's what I want. I want 20, I want 30 to 40. I'm at 10 now. That's the way to think about it. But remember, you see all the response, half of the respondents say getting leads and converting those leads is really a struggle. Don't leave out the networking piece. It is crucial in every industry, and I'd say more so in weddings, or as much so in weddings, because there is such a huge team that comes together, a diverse team of incredible vendors and talented people, and people with different levels of influence and power in the industry. And when you say, oh my gosh, posture of learning, I want to learn as much as I can from the people that I can work with and network with, then you don't feel like a sleazebag. And I've said it before, don't go in saying, hi there, my name is so-and-so. Can you refer me? Go in saying, hi there, can I tour your venue? Tell me about your business. How did you get started? I want to know everything about you that I can. All right, hopefully that was helpful. Hopefully you had a great time. I know I did. It was really fun doing a survey. Before I sign off here, I do want to say that next week I will be taking a break. So I guess this is almost like a seasonal break. The real reason is I'm being asked to join a board for a local nonprofit for housing, shelter, and helping unhoused people and street involved people. And they scheduled their board meeting on Wednesdays right at the time that I would go live. Now, again, typically I would say, sorry, I have a standing, I have a standing appointment every week. But this organization means so much to our town, and I so believe in this initiative and being a part of it that I'm going to go next week. And I just thought, okay, maybe this is like a mid-season break. This is episode 12. I'd like to do 12 more. And so that would put us kind of into the end of April or something like that. So I just thought, let's take a breather next week. We'll all make it somehow. And then I'll come back for season 2 this year of the Unboring Wedding Show, and we'll get right back at it. Okay. All right. I promised you that I would end at the top of the hour. I want to keep that promise. Thank you so much for joining today. Like I say, and your enthusiasm and your vulnerability and sharing along with those survey questions. join the wedding report if you can, so you can continue to contribute. I just put the link there. It's in the video description, but it's in the chat there as well. I wonder if I should drop this Learn to Love Networking article in the chat as well. Might as well, because I referred to their stuff. So there you go. Learn to love networking as a wedding officiant, and you'll do just fine. This was an absolute pleasure. I will not see you next week, but I will see you in 2 weeks. And I was going to say same time, same place. Will I have to shift the time because of this thing? I don't know. You'll get the emails. Look for me on the video on YouTube here. Follow along and subscribe to the channel. I really appreciate you. I will see you then. Thanks, everyone. If you want to join this amazing community, unboringweddingacademy.com. Come on in, get the training, get the community, get the access to me. And you heard a lot about the pro course today, unboringweddingacademy.com/pro. That's where I talk about getting leads, which is the big challenge, exactly how to network, exactly what to say when you network, how to walk that out. And when you get both courses, you can get certified. unboringwedding.com/certified. There's amazing people in our community who have done that. Appreciate you. Have a great rest of your day and week, and see you next time on the Unboring Wedding Show. Marry on. Got to say that before I leave.